Welcome to That's Good Parenting, the podcast where we search for simple steps to reduce your parenting stress. I'm your host, Dory Durbin, children's book illustrator, coach, author, and podcaster. And today I'm joined by someone who works with kids, teens, families, has made a huge, meaningful impact. And if you haven't met her yet, you're in for a treat. Her name is Becky Funk, and she brings a unique blend of insight, experience, and connection to the emotional world of our teens, especially. She helps these families understand what's happening before even the teen years arrive on top of that. So, Becky, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited.
I love talking to you. Nobody knows this, but we've already talked for a half hour before
I
we
know.
recorded this. So we have a lot that we share, and it's always a pleasure. And you actually have already been on. You were on episode 128 called Is Your Teen's Attitude Actually Anxiety? And if listeners haven't heard that yet and maybe haven't met you, I would love for you to tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. My name is Becky Funk, like you mentioned. I am a former high school teacher and former college teacher turned teen anxiety coach. I'm also a mom of two young adult men now and a wife. I have battled anxiety my entire life. And back when we were growing up, we were just told, you need to develop thicker skin, you need to toughen up, you need to learn to get over it. And that did not work well for me. So I tumbled through my 20s and my 30s learning how to try and get a handle on my emotions and my anxiety. And so I married my love of working with teenagers in the classroom with what I have learned in navigating anxiety and learning to overcome that. And so I am so blessed to be working with teens now, helping them do the same.
It's so awesome. I love the fact that you not only have this experience behind you, but you also come at such a straightforward and honest perspective that teens can't help but listen to, or at least hear, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And part of your supporting families, I know, is people usually probably come to you after things have gotten to a higher level. We talked a little bit on the last podcast about this, but just for people to know, how would I know if my teen is actually suffering with anxiety? Just a couple quick tips for those parents.
Sure. Yeah. We're gonna talk, there's the obvious ones where you have the big emotions, the eruptions out of nowhere. There's also the quiet, ones crying at the drop of a hat, snapping back at you unseemingly out of nowhere. These are the kids who might procrastinate putting off an assignment because starting it just feels so overwhelming for them. You can tend to just look in their eyes and see that something is just not right in there.
Yeah, yeah. And they're probably the same kids that are starting to either shrink away or uh, bump heads with their parents too over
Yeah.
things that maybe didn't matter before.
Yeah, when you ask them like, "Hey, did you do your homework today?" And they're like, "Gosh, why do you always have to be so mean to me?" It's like, "Whoa, I just asked you about your homework." It was just there's probably a lot, there's so much going on inside of them, like so much overwhelm that you can't see. And it's just this one little extra like question on there that was just, the what is it? What's the saying? The straw that broke the camel's back. You know? And it just sets them over the edge. And you're unfortunately, fortunately, the safe place for them to like let it all out because they've been holding it all together at school, with their friends. And so you at home tend to be the one to get that end of it.
Lucky us as parents.
Right? Yes.
So, one of the things that we didn't talk about last time that I really wanted to come back to was talking about the big six patterns that you see in kids, especially teens, when it comes to perfectionism, emotional
Mhm.
regulation, some of those issues. And I know that just even talking with some of my authors, like these are patterns that start really young. There are little kids that deal with the big six. So, can you talk to us a little bit about the big six and what that represents for the teens?
Yeah, so it's the first thing I do with every teen client that I get. We do a lifestyle audit, and I call it the Big Six because we look at what are you drinking, caffeine and water wise, what are you eating and how often, how much are you sleeping, how much are you on your phone, and how much is it with you. We talk about how much are you moving your body, and I don't want to call it exercise because we're not talking about like lifting weights or anything big. And coupled with that is also getting sunlight. So those are the six things, and that's the order that I talk to them in. So I want to paint a picture of what my typical overachieving teen client's day looks like. I know this is not for every teen, but I tend to work with the perfectionist, people pleaser, overachieving teens. So they wake up in the morning after being up late at night doing homework, and then they go have to get up at like 6:15 out the door. So they're probably running late getting out of the house because they're still drowsy. So they don't eat breakfast. They grab the energy drink out of the fridge, either Monster or Bang, because they are drowsy and they want a little pick me up, or they stop at the local coffee shop for their iced coffee on the way. And then they're sitting in school for at least two periods. We have block scheduling, as most schools I think do. So we have lunch during third period. And so they've gone through two full classes on an empty stomach and nothing but caffeine. And some of those aren't going to have lunch until after they've been through their third class, too. And then they're finally eating. And then they have another class and they have a little flex at the end of the day where they're trying to scramble to get all of the homework done that they can, because then they're probably going to cross country practice, after that. And then there's the school play because they also want to be involved in the school play, and they have dance class at night. But we also need a job because we need money to pay for the things we want to do. And there's also, I want to apply to college. So we need service for our college application. So I need to volunteer somewhere, and I'm probably an NHS. And the list just goes on and on. And they don't have any time for themselves. So when I start working with them, it's like time out. Let's hold on and take a look at like everything that you're doing. And I mean, I'm going to say right up front, isn't even the big six, but this is the one thing I say is you can be doing too much of a good thing and that'll stress you out.
Mm,
You
yes.
know, you need to back off and you may have to say no to something that you do like to do. So let's prioritize them and figure out what are your non-negotiables. Like these are the things I want to do, because that right there gets to the overwhelm that we just talked about. That kid's going to be stressed because there's no downtime in their schedule at all. So when you say, how's the homework? They're freaking out. They're gonna like jump down your throat on that. So, to get back to your question with the big six, when I'm working with them, I think this was your question. I'm just assuming it is and moving on. Okay. So, the very first thing that we do is take a look at what they're drinking. And I do this because it's the easiest one for them to change out of everything. How many energy drinks are you drinking a day? How many iced coffees? And it's usually not a good number, and that's usually on an empty stomach. So it's like, let's start and trade those out for some less caffeinated options. And this is where you have to play like, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm like, well, maybe instead of an energy drink, what if you grab a Sprite instead? It's gonna be less caffeine. It's still gonna give you the bubbles. It's still gonna give you the sweetness. And then we can like keep toning that back. If you need the iced coffee, just get a decaf iced coffee and see how it goes. And then what I challenge them to do over 2 weeks is notice how your body responds. Expect the withdrawal. You're gonna have headaches because you've had so much caffeine, but does the anxiety stop? Is your chest no longer tight? Are you no longer clenching your jaws? Is your hand no longer shaking? Like, do you feel more relaxed? And that is a very quick win for them. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if they're drinking caffeine and they make those adjustments, they automatically start to feel better. And then I couple that with how much water are you drinking? Because I'm going to say this right, a dehydrated brain is an anxious brain.
Mm.
So a lot of times they're fueling up on the caffeine because they're so tired all the time that they're not drinking all the water they need to be. So it's like a double effect onto the anxiety. So I challenge them to change the drinks that they're drinking in terms of caffeine, but also add in some water and see. So that's the first one that I always tackle with because they're going to get that immediate return on that.
You get a lot of pushback on that first one.
I get a lot of eye rolls on that one of like, don't tell me you're going to make me take this away. And I'm like, but it's your choice. Like, we're just going to experiment. And so, yeah, there will be some pushback, but I'm like, I'm not taking it away forever. We're just playing with it. We're just going to, you may come back in 2 weeks and say, nope, it didn't do anything. Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next one on the list and see what happens. And so we kind of go through it that way. But I do get the, you're gonna what now?
Yeah, and that they've been in that state for so long that they're not sure how to function outside of that state. So it's probably scary.
It is. It is. It really is. And because, and this brings me to the second one that I always do is eating, because you need to grab something other than just the energy drink out the door. So they are eating more regularly throughout the day. And that always helps them feel a little better too. But the core one of these six, and the hardest one for them to change, you think it would be the caffeine, but the hardest one is the sleep. That is where they struggle the most because their schedule doesn't allow for it. And sometimes parents don't want to hear this, but it's true and it's been around since I was in college in the 90s. So this isn't like brand new, I promise. Teen circadian rhythm shift. So where our bodies start producing melatonin like at like early evening, mid-evening, I think. I'm not exactly sure on that, so that we can go to bed at a decent time and wake up and go. Teens don't start producing that melatonin until like 2, 3 hours after us, which is why they're night owls. That's why teens have trouble going to sleep early. Like, even if they had nothing else on their schedule and they had the free time, if they went to bed at 9 or 10, they might not still fall asleep until midnight and they would just toss and turn miserably, right? So, teens also need 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night because I always call teenage years like toddler 2.0. I think I said that before. Like, there's so much development going on in their body. And you remember, like, I remember taking my boys to the pediatrician when they were little, and you would see, I remember one pediatrician was like, they grow when they sleep. And I was like, they what? And they did. Like, I would put them to bed one night, and the next morning they seemed bigger. And I don't know how that happened. You could see it. And that same is happening during our teens. Like, their brain is growing and developing while they sleep. So if they're not sleeping, their brain's not able to do what it needs to do to develop. So, on top of like an already later bedtime, now they need more sleep than we do in order to accomplish all of this growth. School starts at 7:30 in the morning. You can't change that. So, yes, I'm a very big proponent of schools, high schools starting later, but that's the hardest one to change. But when I can help my teens shift their schedule and get some good quality sleep in, that's the one that takes the heat off like right away. That's the one where they're like, "Oh my word, I can't believe how much better I feel just getting a full night's sleep."
Wow. And do you, so if you have a kid that is in that schedule and in that trap, can't go to bed early, how do you start to undo that? I know caffeine would be one of the
Yeah.
first things, get rid of the caffeine, but then
Yeah.
like, how do you start to unravel such a huge pattern?
Right. So that's where it's like, do you need to be doing all of the activities that you are doing? And so we take a look at that. We tweak their schedule a little bit. There's probably some areas where they can get some homework in earlier. You know, if they're in the school play, they're not always on, they're working with other actors, so there's downtime. It's making use of the time that you have in school, which is hard because they're social beings too. They want to talk to their friends. So we try to like sneak things in and shift things and make their mornings a little easier. But there was also just a study out recently that showed teens can actually make up a deficit of sleep from the week on the weekends. So
No.
we parents, we need to let our teens sleep in on the weekends, only up to 2 hours. So not like, not they should be waking up before noon, like just 2 hours extra. So if they're getting up at 6, they're sleeping in until 8 on the Saturdays. Teens don't like me saying that either, but there is research now that shows they can make up some of that deficit on the weekends.
Wow. I wish I would have known that when I was a teen. I would have been
I,
sleeping in.
I know. I would have loved that. I love sleep. Sleep is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, and sleep is probably one of those things like there is some social pressure to not going to bed early. You don't want to be that person that went to bed at 8 and everybody else was up till midnight working on the project.
Or just texting each other.
We're texting each other, which is a whole nother thing we will talk about.
Yeah, yes.
But even like the expectations of, okay, so I'm a high achieving, driven kid that wants to excel in everything I do, and I'm not going to go to bed unless something's done.
Right.
So they put that much more pressure on top of themselves. That's
Yeah.
What does that do that to your central nervous system? It's got to do something.
It's not good. It frazzles it. 'Cause I don't know all the right words to
Mhm.
say, but like your nervous system needs that downtime when you're sleeping, and it needs a little downtime throughout the day. You know, if you're constantly throwing stress after stress after stress at your nervous system, I think I shared this before, but it's such a true thing. It's like taking an eraser and just scratching at your arm over and over again. At first, it's not a big deal. But when you constantly keep doing it, you're rubbing your arm raw and you're essentially doing the same thing to your nervous system if you're not ever giving it a break. And it's like not just like scrolling on your phone kind of break, but like a really true, honest, good rest for yourself, doing something that you love that brings you joy or sleeping.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Okay, let's talk about the phones.
Okay.
It's a huge thing because, as we know, our world operates on phones. Like if I lost my phone, I think I would cry just because I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
Teens are a whole lot more addicted to our phones than even we are. So, and I know social media wise, it's a huge deal. So tell me what you find with teens and phones right now.
Yes, teens, I find it's actually twofold. You made the comment they're even more addicted than we are. There's some teens that are not, and they have a very healthy relationship with their phone, and they know that they spend too much time in it, and they have no problem asking the parents to put the restrictions on, or whatever the need is. So there are definitely some teens that handle it really well. I would say probably handle it well than our parents do, the other side of the generation. But there are definitely teens that struggle to just put the phone away, to put it down. And a lot of times the focus is on how much time are they spending, right? We have to set a screen time restriction or what are they looking at? But a lot of times it's really the notifications that are going off. They don't necessarily notice it or think it's an issue, but every time your phone, like you see something come up and you have to take a look at it, that's a stress on your system that's pulling you out of whatever you are focusing on to pay attention to something else. So it's a little stressor. I'm not a fan of Snapchat as an app only because it constantly brings them into needing to create that streak, that they have going with their friends. And that becomes in itself a whole new stress level. Even if Snapchat was nothing else, fine in every other way, shape, and form, it's the fact that it has created kids needing to open their app every single day just to shoot a random weird picture to keep a streak going, right? And they get a lot of anxiety if they're the ones to break it. What are they going to think of me? What if this is the only thing holding our friendship together right now? Girl, it's probably not. And if it is, they're not the right friend for you. That's a whole different conversation. But they put so much pressure on these things. And then the texting, just texting alone. When we were kids, we had the phone attached to the wall and somebody could be listening in. And, it was you weren't going anywhere, but now they have their phones in their rooms. And even some of the kids that I've talked to have the best intentions of putting it down. Somebody starts texting and then, at 10 o'clock, and the next thing you know, it's midnight and you've been just texting your friends for 2 hours. It's that socialization they crave as a teenager. They're looking for their identity apart from parents, who their people are, and their purpose. Everybody starts looking for that during their teen years. So that texting is filling that these are my people hole in their heart. So it's hard for them to just put it down because what if they don't like me then anymore? And then that's not even to mention the location services that are turned on in the apps. And then you have head games of, wait, why are Jenna and Maddie together and I'm not there? Like, what are they doing? How did this get started? Why wasn't I invited? And it could be something completely innocent that they just both ended up being at Target at the same time. But you've told yourself a whole story and you've made yourself miserable in the process.
Yeah, that piece of it makes the anxiety just so much more pronounced.
Yes.
Just knowing that you're not part of what's going on, or I was telling you about best friends on Snapchat, and
Yes.
like you snap people, in case people don't have a clue what we're talking about. If you
Yeah.
snap people on Snapchat and you snap them often enough, you become best friends. And I know that there's been conversations where it's been like, why are they a best friend with so and so when they were my best friend, and why aren't they talking to me, and why is this happening? Depending on how they have their settings, you can see what's going on at a high level and looking down, but you don't have any information that they're just answering a yes question or whatever.
Yeah, no, like turn those features off. And that's the hard thing to do. That is the hard part because there's a fear of missing out. If I delete Snapchat, if I turn off my phone at 8 o'clock, if I, whatever, 8 o'clock's maybe pretty early for teens, but for me, it's 8 o'clock, like if we do those things, then what are the things I'm missing out on? But every teen that I've challenged to take like a detox has come out on the other side saying that was really amazing and they really liked it. So it's hard to get them there. But once they do, they always see the benefit on the other side. Having to communicate in different ways or you can still meet up with your friends. It's just going to look a little different, and this is the thing. I don't mind my kids having a phone. It's everything that comes with the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still call. Yeah, like let's turn off everything and just you can still call your friends and say, "Hey, let's go to the mall." They actually still go to the mall now. Like that's a thing again. Let's go hang out at the park. Let's go wherever. So yeah, you don't have to turn everything off, but the detox is huge for them.
Yeah, I can imagine some of the situations that I've seen. I don't have intimate information about what's going on, but I've seen kids even like at the airport or something. They're just on the phone, and then we get on the airplane, and it's like like they don't know how to function because
Without
it's disconnected, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, having that space to know that they can exist without the phone and still
Right.
function and everything's okay,
Yeah.
as trivial as that might seem, that's actually a huge deal.
It really is. It really is. Like it is not a part of you. It's a device that is a great tool in certain situations, but you also have the freedom to say, I need my peace. I need my sanity. I'm going to take care of me right now by putting it aside. And it's all about boundaries, it's learning to set that boundary and trust that you have good friends that are going to understand it and hopefully partner with you in it. How great would that be if you as a friend group decided, you know what? We're not texting after 9 because we know we all need to get some sleep. We all need to get homework done. We all need, whatever.
Yeah. It would take a lot of the FOMO out,
It would totally. That's the big reason. So let's just nip it in the bud right there.
That's awesome. Those are some really big changes in just 6 steps too. Like if
Yeah.
you go through progressive, do you go through each one and achieve each one before you move on to the next one then?
No, we
Mhm.
may not ever get anywhere.
Yeah.
So I teach them and I give them the power and the control to make the decisions. It's about testing it and realizing how your body responds to it. So we try to walk them through those. And then the last two that I didn't even talk about are movement, just because they sit all the time. They're sitting in school, they're sitting in front of screens when they come home. And if they're working or, doing cross country, then yeah, they're out and getting some exercise. But that's not the case for the more academic types that are taking a ton of AP classes and now have like a ton of homework they need to go home and do. So go out and take a walk. That takes care of the last two. Just go out and take a walk and get some sunshine because the sunshine is good for your soul. I don't know exactly what the science is behind it, but I know that there's something there for your vitamin K levels. And yeah, just moving your body every day is good for studying, you know? Study a little and walk. Study a little, take a little walk, and that's going to help you retain what you're learning. So there's a lot of benefits there.
I think even that, even if the cross country person was running, I was just thinking about your comment that they may not need it, but in the same vein, I feel like it would help them.
No, yeah, like
Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say like that's your job, that's a focus, that's not a choice that you're making at that time. So while you're getting the movement and you're getting the sun, what if you just take a nice leisurely walk later and you give your soul and your nervous system a chance to just breathe and relax? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, and it doesn't have to be long, like 5, 10 minutes. We get these big expectations in our head that if I do it, it's going to be this hour-long thing. And no, just a little walk around the house, a little walk around the block is really all you need.
It's interesting that you said the big expectations because that was rumbling around in my head a little bit with the perfectionist type of quality,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I think that sometimes, at least for teens and for anybody who has high expectations of themselves, they feel like if they don't do something right, let's say they don't get the caffeine right, they don't get the sleep right, then the whole thing is just done. Like there's no winning, right? But what you're saying is any little step towards it is a
Yep.
good thing.
Progress over perfection. Always progress over perfection. Any little step you do is not a wrong step. So you're absolutely right because the perfectionist is going to want to take it up. You told me 5 or 10 minutes is all I need. I am now setting my bar at 20 and nothing less. And now I can't do that on this day because I don't have 20 minutes. And now I'm a failure because I can't even do this one simple thing.
So they set
Exactly.
themselves up for failure and trying to achieve something more.
Exactly. Exactly. And I do that all the time still. Like I have to call myself on it and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I got to back off.
And I think it's part of that personality too. So, which causes anxiety. It's like such a
Mhm.
cyclical thing, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. I was thinking too with the mistakes. I think as a parent who has kids that are on that perfectionist level, it's hard as a parent to parent them because you want to like if they make a mistake and they're beating themselves up over it, they're a lot harder on themselves than you are. And just trying to help them see a different perspective or not beat themselves up is hard. So do you have any just general advice for parents? Like what do you do if, let's say they're in the middle of this and they can't maintain their 20-minute walk that was supposed to be 5 minutes and they're messing it up? How do we
Right.
talk them down or out of that and get them back on track?
Yeah, you meet them at their overwhelm, validate their overwhelm, and recognize the fact. Help them. You can't tell them. Don't ever come in and just tell a teen like you should do this, you shouldn't do this. As you heard me saying through all of this, it's like helping them understand what they're capable of, and how their body responds to things. I'm not saying you need to stop doing this. It's let's test it out and you tell me how it is. So that teen that's always making mistakes and like setting themselves up for failure. I always think of like, the test. I hear so many times from parents like she came home with an 88 on her test. We were thrilled. She was in tears. Like it should have been an A. What do I say? And you're not. You say like you did when you say to them you did well. We're not disappointed in you. They're not hearing that. They're not hearing that because that's not what the core is, but it's saying to them like you're worth more than a test. This one test is not going to make or break you, right? You are not a failure. You are still a good person. This does not define who you are. It's helping them say, and some of those things, even as I was saying them, I could see some of even my kids be like, no, wait, you can't, that you're just saying that because you're my mom, like you don't believe it. But it's getting into them and being curious, I think is really the key behind all of it, is letting them know they matter more to you than their achievements do. I love you. You can get an F. I don't care. That's not changing my love for you. You're still a good person. I think a lot of times perfectionists need to know that they're good and they're right. And so, and the right part is where that if I was right, it would have been 100 and it wasn't. So therefore I'm wrong. But that doesn't make you bad. And it's helping them distinguish between those two things. And so in cases of mistakes, I always told when I was teaching and I told my own kids, like mistakes are where the learning happens. And if you never make a mistake, then technically you're never learning anything. And there is no way that it's funny saying this to a teen, but there's no way that you know everything right now, that there is
Yes.
to learn. They think they know everything, but there's a reason you're in school and there's a reason you're taking classes and because you don't know that material. You have to have a teacher teaching it to you. But when you make a mistake on something, you're going to learn what you did wrong, and that material is going to stick with you even more. So I was going to go, I had a 10-minute walk. That's what I was told I needed to do. But in my mind, I made it a 20-minute walk, and now I can't do it. And now I'm a failure because I can't do something simple like that. But why? Can you tell me why you need to? What was the original rule in that? It's just 5 minutes. Just do what you can. Just do a little walk and just see how you feel. Just did it work? Did it help? Great. Do you need 20 minutes? No. See, because that little bit did it for you.
It's that experiential confirmation, like taking the
Yeah.
pressure off of it and making it more, like you said, just a straight experiment versus you should have, you could have, why
Yeah.
didn't you? Yeah.
You said that so much better and more concisely than I did. Like taking the pressure off is really, I'm like, how do I say this? I don't know how to say it. It's literally taking the pressure that they put on themselves. You're helping to take that pressure off. Yeah.
I'm sure that's while it's important for them to learn to do, it's probably really hard because that pressure is what keeps them motivated too.
Right. That pressure is what's helping them not make a mistake. They want to control everything in their environment because perfectionists, I think, tend to want everything to work very efficiently, right? So if I wasted time, if I made the wrong decision, and I wasted time going in that path, that was a waste of time and was not efficient. And I should have chosen the other way. I should have known to do that instead of like now I've learned. It's like I should have known because now I just wasted all this time that I could have been using to do something else on my to-do list that's so long, and never ending. And it's like, give yourself some grace. I always tell my clients, like, would you say that to your friend? If you were watching your friend go through this and like beat herself up for getting 88 on a test, would you be like, darn straight, you should be beating yourself? No, nobody says that. Nobody says that. So talk to yourself like you would talk to your friend, right? And why don't we do that? So it's learning to give themselves some grace in the process and realize nobody's going to do everything perfect and it's okay to make a mistake and learn from it and pivot. That's life.
So good. So good. Okay, I hate to say it, but we're down to the last couple questions.
I know, yes.
What is one message you wish any and every parent could tell their child today or their teen today? So it's one thing that you wish that they could tell their own kids.
I love that question. And I'm going to think about it for a minute. One thing that I wish every parent would know about their kids, what I hear from kids often, the teens, is I don't want my parents to fix me. I
Mhm.
just want them to understand me. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be understood. So when they are upset, don't try to offer advice. Just say, would you like to talk about it? And just listen or give them the option. Do you want me to just listen or do you want me to give advice or do you want me to help you come up with a plan and let them tell you what they need? And most of the time it's, I just need you to sit here and listen to me. And when you do that, that's where you're building the relationship and you become that trusted person that they can come to. And that's what we all want, right? As parents, but it's hard for us to watch our kids struggling, so we want to fix it for them. But we can't always do that. They need to learn and build that resiliency on their own.
Yeah, I always think, well, what would I do if somebody told me what to do? I would do the opposite.
Yeah, right. I don't know about you, but I don't like to be told what to do. So I'm probably going to do the opposite. And that's how most teens are going to react too. Like, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. Well, Becky, okay, so our listeners know this, they can get a hold of you fairly easy. And I want you to share with them how to do that and what else you have in store for them if they come find you.
Yeah, awesome. So I hang out on Instagram all the time. My handle is at Becky Funk Coaching, just like it's spelled BeckyFunk. So come hang out there, shoot me a DM. I also have a website. It's thebeckyfunk.com. And I am launching a brand new offer for the holiday season, which I'm very excited about. It's going to help you bring some harmony into your household, bring some peace to it, and help you understand your teens' wiring, help you minimize conflict. I mean, who doesn't want that when the holidays are around and they're home more? How to communicate effectively and motivate them to get things done by speaking. You're going to learn how to speak their language. So we're going to figure out how they're wired, how you're wired, how you're compatible, where you clash, and just it's like every parent is like that I've that has been through this process is like this is like my personalized manual for my teen. Like, yeah, it is. So it's really awesome. So shoot me a DM if you want to know how to do, how to get into that program, and I'd be happy to chat with you about it.
I'm assuming this would work for your college students returning from home as well.
Absolutely. It actually works even better for college students too.
All right, contact Becky on Instagram and get a hold of her so that you can have the current version of this
Yes.
as soon as possible.
Yes, you got it. Very personalized, straight for you.
That is awesome. Well, Becky, as always, you have so much great information. I honestly like just feel blessed that we can drain your brain of all this good stuff. And I really feel like there's definitely listeners out there that could they know that they need this, and just reaching out to you would be their first step. So thank you for taking the opportunity to talk with us and taking the time to do that.
Always enjoy being here, Dory.
Thank you.